That was funny. I was in this store. I won't mention any names, but if you're smart, you'll figure it out. And we were all kind of possessed by watching this girl that wasn't very old, about 400 pounds, and had 3 little tiny kids. And they were so dirty and nasty looking. It was like really sad. And how do you go out of the house without making sure your kids look good? But they were blocking the door, and they had a bucket of candy. It was free for people for the holiday. And it was like a 15-minute duration. Kids to decide which one they wanted, and this, that, and the other. It's right at the door, and so like people couldn't get in, on that 6-foot roller, like waiting for them to finish what they're doing. And then this manager comes out of the office, and I swear she's Hawaiian. Oh man, when she talks, it's absolutely beautiful. It's like rhythmic music. It's just absolutely beautiful. I swear that's Hawaiian. And she looks a bit oriental. Real pretty lady. And she's probably an older lady, but very well preserved. She's funny. Oh my gosh, she was like real loud, but she was talking sort of like the Cajun people do. They're real loud, and that doesn't mean they're mad. It's just the way they talk. And it was so funny. She had this little note, and she said, "I can't figure this out. What is this?" And so there was like this whole letter, and I guess an employee had left, and you could only decipher like 3 words out of it. And I'm not saying because they couldn't spell, because they can't write. They did it in handwriting, and you couldn't read it. It was just a bunch of loops, and humps, and you can figure out what the words were. And she was like, "How am I supposed to read this?" And so then she started speaking real hyper, like Hawaiian, in between it too. It was so funny. We were all just laughing. She's showing that little note around, and it's like, yeah, it reminded me of Carvel. I was engaged to a guy that I was with for like 6 years, and he was a CPA, and I guess he's still alive now. One of my kids said he was dead, but I don't know if that's true. But he, here's a guy that writes all day long. Come on, Illinois kid, make up your mind. And so here's somebody who writes all day long their whole life, being a CPA, and this guy can't write. And he gave me a letter one day and said, "Since you're going by the post, will you drop this off?" Sure. So then I looked at the front of it, and I said, "Man, nobody can read that." He said, "Well, it'll get there." And I think it was going to the IRS or something. And I said, "You can't even read it. The only thing you read is like the zip code." I said, "Why do you write like that and nobody can understand it?" And he's like, "Well, it always gets her." But you couldn't read any of it. It was ridiculous. And it makes you wonder, because somebody that writes every day, and at that time they had a lot of the stuff on computer to where they could punch in a lot of stuff, so he had a secretary that handled a lot of that, and then he had to review it before and after and make sure, that if it needed any revisions or whatever, before he put his final John Hancock on there, because as a CPA, you're liable for what you turn into the IRS for a customer. So you got to make sure it's right. And it was horrible the way his handwriting was. And here was a nice classic man, wore a suit, the whole thing. And this joker, and spoke proper, and he couldn't write. There's some people like that. Apparently they don't even teach handwriting in school anymore. And that's a criminal shame. Because everybody should know handwriting. If you want to write a lovely letter for a wedding or something, you should be able to write. Hello, I'd like a $2 mocha frappe and a 2 for $4 bacon, egg, cheese biscuit.
Alright, I got the 2 for $4 bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit, but what was before that, ma'am?
A $2 mocha frappe.
Alright, anything else today?
No, that's perfect.
Alright, so it's gonna come out to be $6.42.
Very good, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oh, she's awful sweet. Yeah, like, you know, if you're doing anything on a job where you've got to do some posters or whatever, you should be able to do some nice printing or writing. It does come up at times, and it's worth knowing. All my kids were pretty creative and craftsy and stuff, but I am too. I can do just about anything, where most people can't. I'm one of those really overly talented people. Plus, I went to college for a lot of stuff too, so I really know a lot of stuff. And I call it being versatile. You know, just add it to my basket. Learn something new. Really didn't need all this stuff, but I got a fridge, so I can put one of those biscuit things in the fridge. I'm not a big fan of McDonald's food at all. It's way too expensive and it's crappy. They only have a couple good things. They used to have really good fries, and I don't even like their fries. They're yucky. Yucky peepee-doo. I had sale yesterday. I had an inquiry on a whole thing of tools I put for one good price. And they were Latin, and I guess they didn't understand. And then I had a guy just 10 minutes after I closed it, wanted a dining table, young man. And I went ahead. He said, I realize you're closed. Can I come tomorrow? And I said, you know, if you are in the area and you are ready, I'll go ahead and take it. And he's like, really? I said, yeah, I normally don't, but at least it's before nightfall. So he said, yeah, I could be right there. And boy, he wasn't lying. Most of them are all flaky that you sell to, but this guy wasn't lying. He was boom boom, and it was real nice. He had a very nice Toyota truck, and loaded it up, and it actually helped me move the stuff. It was so embarrassing because I had all this other furniture in front of it for sale, and so it took a moment to move a few things around, and so I kind of helped him walk the truck, but I wasn't going to load it on the truck. I know my limits. You know, my back is not good. So anyway, I've gotten real tired of walking on a cane in my lifetime. I have to be very careful. But then I told him thank you. He paid me before he moved it into his truck. He was a very sweet young man. And he was probably about 24 or something. And one extra geeky kind of guy. Real sweet. And he said he was getting it for his wife and she wanted to redo the table. And I said, well, that sounds fantastic. All right, how are you today? You have a beautiful voice on that intercom there. This girl is teeny tiny. Thank you ever so much. I appreciate you. She looked like she's about 8 years old, little girl. Real sweet. That's a new one there. Wonderful. Love your nails. They're really enchanting. Thank you so much, darling. I love you. Appreciate you. Try to be nice to drive through people when they're good like that, because it's a very abusive job. My youngest daughter worked in it for a minute. And she told me about some pretty rough times, and you know, it's real hard to take a lot of that negativity and just, you know, short on the whipped cream or something. I really didn't need that because I managed to get my cappuccino stuff yesterday. It's like a national shortage. I had to go to like 3 different Walmarts and they don't have it. My daughter can make a killer mocha frappe. That's right. Anyway, so that guy with the table, they bought the table, which was great because it gives me way more room. And it was auction stuff that had to be sold anyway. I had dirt cheap, so I'm glad I could help somebody out. How you doing? If you push the pedal on the right, it will go kind of like a go-kart. And so then, you know, he was getting ready to go, and I'm trying to put all this stuff back into the unit. And he jumped out of the truck and just started loading it in. I said, oh, you didn't have to do that. He said, I don't mind. And I was like, man, thank you so much. That was so sweet. He's like, we had to move it to get the table anyway. And that was really sweet. Because he sure didn't have to do that. We had to move like 2 end tables and like 2 boxes, and 1 clothes rack piece, and 3 plastic empty bins. You know, some bits and pieces there. There's a witch with her panties up. Okay then.